Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the live Falcon and Winter Soldier discussion. Now, before we get started, this is a spoiler discussion. We're going to talk openly about the episode, so you have to watch the episode to watch this live discussion. Unless you just don't care about spoilers and just want a quick recap. I couldn't do this alone, so I invited a good friend of mine, João. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing, my friend?
Thank you. Doing very well, man. Very excited to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier with you. It was a great start to this Marvel show, man. Very excited.
For sure, and I know you don't talk about movies on YouTube. You have your own podcast. You have on Spotify, and it's doing very well. Congrats on that. But let us know before we dive deep into all this. What are your general thoughts on WandaVision as a whole, and how was your hype coming into the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier?
So I loved WandaVision. I think that the show was an incredible exploration of these two characters that I already knew from the comics before they came onto the MCU. But on the films, I was never very close to them. You know, they were very much like secondary characters, except maybe for Infinity War. But in here,
Okay.
from the sitcoms to Wanda's grief to the whole exploration of her backstory. Loved it all. I think my only issue really was Hayward and the whole deal with Sword. Although I did like Monica Rambeau.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was an incredible start to the story of the Scarlet Witch. And it made me excited for the rest of the Marvel Disney Plus TV shows, and gave me confidence. And almost a year and a half without anything Marvel, and it was a great start.
Oh yeah, for sure. That I don't want to remember that year. So after WandaVision, how are you feeling coming into this new show, the second MCU show, Falcon and Winter Soldier?
So I was a bit, a bit more confident because I did love WandaVision, but at the same time, it did look more like what I was used to from Marvel. So I didn't know if it was just going to be like, okay, an action-packed 6-episode. You know, the trailers looked a lot like Fast and Furious vibes for me, which I like, by the way. I don't mind those films.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really surprised, man, because yeah, it does have a lot of action, but it focuses a lot on the character side of it, on the character drama of Sam and Bucky. So man, I thought that was the best part of the episode, overall.
I agree with you. This was always up there for me in terms of anticipation. This was one of those shows that from the beginning gave me a lot of Winter Soldier, like the movie vibes in terms of the action. And so it was never my number one, but it was always very high. And like you, I was exhilarated by the action. I really liked it. But I was also pleasantly surprised by the character working in this and how it develops them and how it positions them, let's say, for what the story will be. So without any further ado, again, for anybody watching, this will have spoilers, so click away if you haven't seen the episode and come back later, please, because we'd love to have you. So João, how did you feel about that first scene? Sam looking upon the shield, remembering about that last moment of Captain America when he comes back as an old man, and now he's delivering the shield back to the Captain America Museum. How was that for you?
Man, I remember that joke in the beginning of Winter Soldier when they say that they brought him back from the Smithsonian. So I was really I thought that was very funny. No, I mean, first off, surprised by seeing Don Cheadle in the beginning of the episode. I never thought he would be just right here, on the start. And you mentioned Winter Soldier, and you can tell, man, like the first shot of the episode, you can tell, man, it's handheld. It's very much like the feeling we have on the Winter Soldier film, and I loved it, man. It's very, I don't know, it was emotional. You can tell that Sam's not completely comfortable by wearing this shield, at least yet. You know, I really hope that he manages to get the shield by the end of the show and everything. But no, I think it was very touching, and it was a bit of one of those moments that I thought, okay, this show is not just gonna be action and everything; it's gonna be, focused on the characters. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. That I was looking forward to the action. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that the show starts with such an intimate, personable moment with this character and what he's going through internally really, really raised the bar for the rest of the show. And we do get an incredible action sequence that we're going to talk about in a bit. But what I really like about this opening is how we take a look into Sam's perspective. This is not a third-party perspective. It's not like a world perspective on him. It's how he's absorbing all of this, coming back from the blip, being an Avenger, but also working with the army and the government in general. And he just lost not only someone that everyone in his world looks up to, not only that symbol that Captain America represents, but he lost a very close friend. He already looked up to Steve before, but he got to be close with him. He got to be one of his closest friends, and that weight is it's something that they do very well in focusing. And like you, I was expecting to see Don Cheadle at some point. We knew he was coming in this show. I did not expect him in this episode. They pulled that cameo trigger very quick.
Do you think
surprisingly
that we get
so.
to see him in action though, or do you think it's just a little cameo on the show?
I think we see him again. I don't think we see him in action, because we'll talk about this near the end. But we've seen the clips in the trailers that Sam and Bucky have the shield, and clearly at this point, by the end of this episode, they don't have the shield with them. They're not even together at any point in this first episode. So I think Rhodey will be their partner, their secret partner in this, working against the government. Now, let's move on from that, and an incredible action sequence that I don't know about you, but I thought this would not look out of place at all if we saw it on the big screen. Batroc the Leaper is back. Sam is on a rescue mission. It's all kinds of inventive. How did you feel about that aerial chase scene?
Man, it was fantastic. It felt wrong to watch it at home and not in a movie theater. It was the scope of these Marvel Disney Plus TV shows. I don't know how they, managed to get profit out of all of it, but it's insane how they, it looks like a movie. It looks exactly like a film, like you said. The scope is insane. I don't know if it's gonna, always look like this. That fight on top of the trunks on the trailer looks a little bit iffy for me. But this looked amazing, and I love the shots on Sam's face when he's flying. Like, man, that was insane. And Batroc's back. I remember this fight from Winter Soldier is one of my favorite fight scenes on the MCU, actually. So I'm excited to see him again. I don't think it's going to be the last time we see him on this show.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it'd be a shame if it was, because they like promoted him. They're like, he's gonna be in the show, he's gonna come back, and so he almost has, and if I remember, he has absolutely no direct interaction with Sam, unless I missed something. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing more fight scenes with him. Maybe we get a one-on-one fight between him and the Winter Soldier. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. That entire scene, flying in and out of planes, in and out of helicopters, like the guys are saying, "Oh, we escaped from him," and then the camera pans and he's right there sitting next to them. I love that moment where he enters the cargo plane and people start shooting at him, and he just puts the wings in front of him like a shield. And like you, that shot, that close up of his face. Filled with such good moments, this entire sequence, and it just establishes as well the relationship that he has with the army, and his liaison is what I'm calling him, at least, because I don't know.
And I love how
if
he
that's
uses
the correct
Red
term.
Wing as well.
Yes, Red Wing is another great adaptation, because in the comics, for those who don't know, it's an actual Falcon that he carries with him and does all these crazy stuff, and I'm not going to say I wouldn't love to see that in live action, but it wouldn't really work, especially in this grounded character drama that they're clearly presenting. I think Red Wing is one of the best, like, let's twitch this from the comics and put it in live action in a credible way. How did you feel about overall the adaptation of Red Wing from the comics?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw him back on Civil War. And I always wanted to see more of him. I love that opening from Civil War, man, when they fight Crossbones. I think
So
it's
good.
incredible, and we really get to. Oh, we saw it in Ant-Man too. Now I remember.
Oh
In Ant-Man 1.
yeah.
Yeah, we see him there as well. Um, I love it. I think it's great. I think it gives a little bit more of tactics for Sam to use. He can use it. It's
Mhm.
really smart. So I'm excited to see how they use it again in the next action sequences of the show.
Oh yeah.
It's really cool.
I'm with you. And speaking of action sequences, after this we have not quite my favorite scene in the episode, but the most chilling scene in the episode, which at first I was extremely confused by. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, man.
we transition into this hotel. There are this group of friends. They're saying goodbye, blah blah. They're gonna meet later, and then the camera. Fantastic camera work, by the way. Going up the stairs and into the hall, and boom, a metal arm comes through the wall, pushes the guy in. The Winter Soldier starts killing fools and finishes up by just choking this guy out with his bare hands and saying, "Hail Hydra." And then there's this dude, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's this dude, we don't see him killing him, but he's shaking his hand. He can't put the key in the keyhole because he's just shaking. And I can't blame him. I would be reacting probably the same. Take us through what you thought as you were looking at the scene for the first time.
Right. So I was watching the episode, and then you see the trailers. You see Bucky with short hair, and then the first time
Yeah.
you see Bucky on this episode, he has long hair, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? Because I didn't think it was a flashback. I mean, the show wasn't
Yeah,
kind
at the
of
time. Yeah,
telling you.
at the time I didn't
anything.
understand it either.
Yeah, and then he starts killing people left and right, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? He says "Il Hydra," and I'm like, this can't be the present. It's totally something he's recording, and yeah, man, I love how this guy has, well, or dude, he has PTSD. I don't love that he has that, but I love that we're getting a deep dive on his trauma, basically, because he is a man who's been always fighting. He's never stopped. He does say he had a little bit of peace in Wakanda, which is something that we didn't get to see much. We saw that little scene on Infinity War, but I'm excited to see how this show, like Captain America, Captain America was someone that, was not feeling right with the world that he was in. He was feeling somewhat left out. Now we see Bucky, which is somewhat going through the same thing, but also kind of blaming himself for the wrongs he did on his past, which is, not completely his fault. He was brainwashed. But it definitely weighs a toll on him, and I love that scene with him and the psychiatrist. I think it was really funny.
It was. That's my favorite scene in the episode, man. It's him and the therapist, and she's the thing I liked about that moment the most is she doesn't bullshit him. She just says stuff straight to his face, like, you're doing this wrong. Otherwise, you won't be able to move on from your trauma. And I think that's really effective. It's really funny, like you said. And the line that really caught me off guard was her saying, "I'm a soldier as well. I saw a lot of dead bodies, so I completely understand what you're going through." And the little sprinkles of humor weren't just funny, but they gave both of these characters, Bucky and the therapist, a lot of humanity, I think.
Okay.
How did you feel about that scene in general?
I felt sorry for Bucky most of all, because you could tell that he was resisting for the most part to try and tell something to his psychiatrist. But there's a moment there where he somewhat comes clean, He's like, okay, look, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to adjust, but he can't, and she understands, she's been a soldier too. So yeah, no, I really like the banter between the two of them. We see her again on the trailer, and Bucky's there with Sam, so I'm excited to see how that plays out as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't wait to see more of her. And again, this was my favorite scene. I'm a Bucky guy. I'm very much a Bucky guy. It sucks that they cut his hair. They should not have cut his hair. Long hair on superheroes looks badass. But all right, I say we should take this. Let's cover the rest of Bucky's part of the episode before, instead of doing in order of scenes for the rest of it. So after this, we get this really cool scene. He's hanging out with this old man. They're really friends, and they're going into this sushi bar, and and there's this cute girl there, and the old man was just really funny to me, really charming, really sweet, and he's very cheeky, and he basically puts Sam on a date with this girl, and I can't blame the girl. I wouldn't say no to a date with Sebastian Stan, and I'm as straight as can be. How did you feel about this scene? And where did you feel it would go? Because the man at one point talks about these mochi and how his son liked mochi. Did what happens eventually clocked in with you, or did you not realize until the actual reveal?
But only in the end of the scene. So when he starts speaking about the mochi breads, I'm like, man, what the hell are you talking about? He just suddenly starts speaking about this bread in the middle of the thing, but then Bucky looks at him in a way, and I'm like, oh my god, he killed his son.
Yeah.
No, please, don't do this to me. And then, like, the man is so kind to him, and you can tell that, his son is left. He probably lives alone by himself, he's a lonely person. And Bucky's there because he feels, sorry for what he did to him. He blames himself, and man, it's heartbreaking, especially when he goes on the date with the girl and he has to leave because he can't take it. I don't know. It was very tough to watch in my opinion, and I feel like for me it was that dinner scene between the two of them was my favorite part of the episode. Wow. Because it made me look at Bucky and really feel sorry for him, even though, it reminded me of Civil War in the end, when we know that when Tony Stark finds out that he killed his parents, and I'm always like, look, it's not his fault, but at the same time, he killed his mother and his father, and it's very hard to judge him, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. It puts you in this moral conundrum because it's not a fault, but he's not completely out of blame. There is a part of blame, at least, that I think lies with him, and that scene was completely heartbreaking because I only realized at the moment we see not even the close-up of the shrine that the old man has. I think his name is Yori. Not even at the close-up of the shrine, but like as soon as he opens the door and you see the shrine on the background, and I'm like, and then it's when it hit me.
He was gonna tell him, right? I mean, I assume he was gonna tell him.
Yeah, I think so, because I started thinking about it, and I think Bucky was even attracted to hang out with this man and be his friend, not because he realized, but because his subconscious was pulling them together, I would say. So it was something that Bucky knew without actually knowing, if that makes any sense. So like you, not quite my favorite. I prefer the therapist scene, but a magnificent scene. But I couldn't stop thinking about when he was having the date with the girl, and they're playing Battleship, and every time he missed, he had to drink. I couldn't stop thinking about how unfair it was, because Bucky cannot get drunk. So it was really unfair to the girl. True. At least he wasn't getting her drunk. That's a good sign. So in general, moving on from that, how do you feel about this whole subplot with Sam and his sister? Let's talk about in general about the first scene they have together and then going into the bank.
So I liked it. I think that it's still a little bit surface level in a way, because it's interesting that now, okay, we know that Sam has a sister, and they probably, I did not quite understand, they have this boat, their family was probably fishermen,
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting. I like his nephews. I think there was a little bit of a, you can tell it's a growing family, but you also can tell that there's a distance between the two of them, because while Bucky was off flying aliens, like she says, she was dealing with the family issues all by her own. So it's an interesting dynamic, and for me, I think that there's something still to learn about that we don't know, and I think it could develop much further. But at least from the first episode, I think it was a moment that I did like. It had a scene that has a question that I always ask myself, which is, how do the Avengers make money? Because we have no idea how many times I think, okay, yeah, sure, they don't work for the government now. I mean, some of them did after the registration. But how do they win money? Does Stark pay them? How does this work? But yeah,
I always assumed Stark paid them, but now that Stark is gone, that is a very good question to ask. Because right now I don't know either. I'm a little bit more pessimistic than you because I like the concept of this relationship and what it brings to the show. I think in this episode it was very surface level. I think in the long run, judging by this episode alone, could be the show's weakest link. And when I say weakest link, doesn't mean it will be bad in its own right. Could be still good, just not as good as the entire rest of the show. That bank scene, I gotta tell you, really worked for me in the beginning. Like the bank teller being, oh, I know you from somewhere, and then being a super fan of the Falcon and whatnot. But then it goes on a little bit too long. I didn't care for how much they stay there, and the episode basically stopped with all that. So this is the one weak part of the episode. If I had to pick an issue, it's just, in general, another rewrite on these sections of this episode could have helped just a little bit, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I think this, I'm going to keep my eye on this subplot with the sister and whatnot. I also think, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, again, you need to rewrite a few things here and there, but I think if you put the bank scene first and then have the whole family dynamic when they're on the boat and near the marina and putting the fish out and into the tables for people to buy, I think that would have worked a lot better because that bank scene sets up properly the issues they're having, why they need to go to the bank, why their relationship is, I wouldn't say damaged, but it's not perfect, and they have disagreements as any family. And then when they're in the marina, they present the real issue behind it, and that is the parents' legacy and why Sam doesn't want to sell the boat. Do you agree with me, disagree?
Yeah, I think it could have landed very well, and I think you could have get at least, a bit more of a frantic dynamic between him and his sister on the bank, and then, you could get a little bit more of development on the boat, starting to clearly understand how things went, because it's two people. One thing I want to comment on, and I think it's very interesting from this episode, and also from WandaVision, I think they touched on it very well, is how the blip is affecting everything. Yes. I find this concept amazing because, in Endgame, it's a resolution. We get the blip, but we're seeing the end of the story of these Avengers. But seeing the repercussions that this has had, and I'm not a big fan of how they handled it in Far From Home because I like the film. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I think they treat it as a joke, and yeah, in that beginning scene, I just feel like it's too early to make fun of Tony Stark like that, man. But seeing people struggling to get loans because of the blip, getting like actual quotidian life struggles because of that, I think it really enhances the world, and that's why I thought that scene was interesting as well, and that expansion because of the blips, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really like the world building around the people that came back to the blip. Even that man in the beginning thanking Sam, like Sam didn't do anything in this case. Like he was just as saved as anyone else. But I'm with you. The thing that I like actually is that we're seeing the different perspectives. Like I liked how they dealt with it in Far From Home because it's teenagers. They're not gonna truly understand or care about the real implications and the gravity of this whole situation. So the fact that we're seeing this event being dealt with in such different ways with such different perspectives is what enhances both for me. Like I love that that Falcon and Winter Soldier right now at least is handling that with the gravity that it deserves, the gravity that it does have, and Far From Home is the perspective of a teenager. They're not gonna care. They're gonna think this is a joke and have fun with it.
So successful, right? Because it can push to so many demographics that definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. So before we move on to that final scene, I'm boiling already. So let's go to another piece of setup for the entire show, because we have what I'm going to call, because I don't think they have a name at this point, but the Red Hand Society. Sam's army liaison, who is being called Torres. He goes to Switzerland. He infiltrates a meeting between them, and they start to deliver masks to like 50 people that are meeting in that square in Switzerland. Then suddenly a dude jumps out a window, 2 bags. I assume they're filled with money. And everyone puts on the mask and starts running around everywhere in the square. The police comes in. It's a whole mess. It's technically another action sequence. And what caught my eye off guard here, what caught me off guard here, is there's a super soldier amongst their ranks, which immediately elevates the intrigue when it comes to this group. Because going into the show, I don't know about you, but I was like, I'm not interested in this. I don't care to see teenagers fighting off against 2 Avengers. But now they have a super soldier. Like, what is going on there? I really like the mystery that it opens up. Like, they just opened the door for you to look into, and now we have to wait a week. How did you feel about this whole scene?
So at the moment when I saw the episode, I was a little bit confused because, like you, I thought like watching the show, there was a group of teenagers just, kind of, I guess they were somewhat like a Robin Hood type of thing. They're stealing money from banks, and I don't know. I can tell yet if they're just, terrorists or if they're just, trying to get this money for something else. I like the scene. I like that character that was introduced that speaks to Sam by voicemail. I think he was interesting. Actually, about these people, and I think it's interesting once we get to talk about the last scene as well. So there's this group of people in the comics called the Buckies or the Bucks. Do you know who they are?
It's not ringing a bell. Let me check.
So in the comics, U.S. Agent has a group of people that fight with him called the Buckies, and they're not super soldiers as in the super serum, but they're super enhanced, and they are and U.S. Agent fights with him. So I don't know if this show is taking that from the comics and bringing these super enhanced people to fight with this group, and U.S. Agent is among them. But I did think that maybe they are pushing that avenue to bring the Bucks or the Red Hand Society, like you called them, to the show, and it kind of makes me think, are these characters involved, or is this something that Zemo, who we didn't get to see on this episode yet, is involved with? Because something that I love Civil War, and it got me back to that moment where we think Captain America and Bucky are going to fight all these super soldiers, but then they're all dead,
Yeah.
And for a moment, I forgot that. I thought, okay, this is one of those super soldiers, and maybe, Zemo released one of them. But I'm not sure. I think they might be taking this from the comics. If not, it's fine. I think we learned from WandaVision not to believe in all of our theories.
That's true. Yeah, I don't recognize that group. Like, the name is not ringing a bell personally. But what I do feel, I think they're gonna somewhat be working with Zemo, but I don't think they'll know they are working with Zemo, because from what we've read in interviews and from what the actors have said, Zemo's whole thing in this show is that he doesn't think superheroes should exist. So I think maybe he is enhancing these people in this group, but maybe he wants to get rid of them by the end as well. So I think, again, there's a lot of intrigue going into that, and fun to speculate nonetheless. Even though we were all wrong about WandaVision, I think it's still fun to speculate. I know I was wrong about WandaVision. But all right, from then on, let's move on to our final scene. My man, Sam is back home, and Taurus calls him to turn on the TV. The government, without skipping a beat, they were thinking of this already even before Sam gave him the shield. That's for sure. They had this huge press conference. They're presenting a new Captain America, and this guy walks out. For those who don't know, his name will be John Walker. He's someone in the comics who's appointed as the replacement of Captain America, but he is never like officially christened. He's never presented like to the public as this is Captain America. Yeah. In this show it is, and it's extremely effective to make you immediately hate him as soon as the scene happens I was boiling when this came over. Anthony Mackie's acting in this scene is spectacular. Like, no words, just a look of defeat and devastation. Like, what are they doing? Take us through your emotions when you saw this scene.
My emotions when I saw this scene, it was like, man, you can't finish an episode like this. I was like, just give me more. No, I think it was really intense, and seeing that moment where the sister just comes in, tells Bucky to watch, and you can tell how uncomfortable he's becoming. Like he knows. I think he starts to think, okay, maybe I shouldn't have put the shield there. Like he starts to put his hands together like this. He's trying to contain himself, but I think he's literally boiling, like all of us watching that scene. And the guy is dressing up as U.S. agent, man. That smile he gives, it reminded me of Joffrey from Game of Thrones. I just want.
Oh. Yeah, I'm with you. And the thing is, he clearly, like, the pattern of the suit of U.S. agent in the comics, it's not exactly the same as Captain America. It's different. It's more of an horizontal stars and stripes. And he clearly has that design, except in the comics. I don't remember if this ever was the case in the comics, but in the show, it's red, white, and blue, while in the comics his main suit is black, red, and white. Like, instead of the main color being blue, it's black. We've seen like one shot of him in the trailers. He's running on the football field and high-fiving a person, and we've already seen that the suit is going to be blue. What I feel it's going to happen, and bounce off your ideas whether you disagree or agree with me, is that we've seen in the trailers that Sam and Bucky have the shield. At one point, they're going to have the shield. Sam is going to be training with the shield. I think Sam and Bucky will unite because of their... We don't want this dude as Captain America. This dude is not Captain America. And he shouldn't be Captain... I don't think they're going to unite, like, in the sense of one of us should be Captain America. I think they're both way too humble and way too close to Steve for that, and they both look up to Steve for that. So I think we've seen that the government will be after them. So I think they're going to steal the shield maybe by the end of next week's episode. That's how we really get going with this. How do you feel about it? Do you agree, disagree?
So, I'm not completely sure still about how Bucky and Sam are going to unite. Because I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, probably that's going to be it. They both feel like this guy doesn't deserve to be Captain America. At the same time, they don't know this dude. I don't know who this dude is in this show yet. I don't know whether or not he's just a soldier with Captain America's shield, I don't know what's going on. And I also don't understand, and this comes from frustration from what they actually, I think, they're killing the characters as well. There's so many superheroes in this universe. Why do you feel like you have to present a new Captain America as the U.S. Government? I know that he represents America and everything.
Yeah.
But there's so many other superheroes there. So that was just a thought I had. But I do feel like they will get the shield. They will either steal it, or like you said earlier on this episode, they're gonna work with Rhodey to get that shield away from the U.S. agent. I feel like Rhodey will be upset about this.
Oh yeah.
And maybe he will be the one that takes the shield out. And that scene in the episode not the episode, the trailer, where Bucky and Sam are running away, and there's this group of people that are shooting against them.
Yes.
I don't know if that's not when they're trying to steal the shield.
Okay. All right.
Not too sure, but yeah.
I have a feeling it's maybe after that. Like, they've already stolen the shield at that point, but it could be right because I haven't like super examined that shot, but it looks to me like they're in a street at night, and I think they're gonna be fugitives again by the time they steal the shield. But yeah, man, this ending, like, completely. Oh, I want to see this dude getting what he deserves. Like what you brought up of having many superheroes. I think it's just the thing of the people need a symbol. And back in the day when there was World War II, they got the soldier to pick up the mantle and become that symbol for the people. So I think they're going kind of with the same mentality, except Captain America, the First Avenger, you have that beautiful conversation the night before the operation with Erskine having a drink, a shot with Steve Rogers, and talking to him about I can't remember what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like not a good soldier, but a good man. That's what's most important. And I think in this case, they clearly got a good soldier. Not that he's not a good man necessarily, but I think they clearly didn't put that into consideration when choosing who should be the next Captain America. What do you think?
I think it was a rush decision. I mean, it looks like one of those things that they just, okay, we have the shield, let's pick a dude.
Yeah, exactly.
The next Captain America. No, I mean, I don't feel, I mean, looking at him, looking at that little smug look on his face, kind of looks like his values are different from Captain America. So I think it's literally, like you said, it's going to be a symbol. I don't think he's going to be evil or bad.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, is not completely like that. So I don't know. I think he's not going to be bad, but I think he's going to be a total dissonance from what we know as Steve Rogers and Captain America. So yeah, man, I just hope they get that shield fast. I really hope, and I hope this happens, because Sam and Bucky need to meet on the next episode.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's only 6 episodes, so we can't take too long.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, when do you think Agent 13 is gonna show up also?
If not by the end of next week's episode, I think 3rd episode she shows up, because she's one of the main stars. So at the very least, she's got to be in half of the show. It can't take too long.
That, in the comics, that character kills Captain America. With a snipe shot. So, do you think that she ends up being the one that fights off U.S. Agent if he does end up not being a good person or a good hero?
Honestly, no. I could change my mind, but right now I don't feel like it feels wrong that in a show called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Agent 13 would get the final blow, or it would just be odd to me. At least right now. Again, I could change my mind. I could agree with you, or even strongly believe that she's totally not going to do it. But because in the comics she did that because she was brainwashed, and U.S. Agent has been on both sides in the comics. He has been a good guy. He's been a bad guy.
Yeah.
So do you think we'll get a backstory episode on him, an episode dedicated to him? Because that was just a still released this week, and it's a simple still. It's him sitting down and someone is talking to him, but he's in his army getup, is in his uniform. Do you think they're gonna give this character a nuance? Maybe he's feeling pressure and he feels the honor of this position, and he's taking that with the best intentions possible, and maybe after that it gets to his head. How do you think they're going to handle this character?
So I think that maybe we will get something like we did with Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, and we will, on episode 4, we have this first act, and then we jump on to meet this character before we go on to the conclusion of the show. But at the same time, it's only 6 episodes, so I'm not sure whether or not they will want to go away from Bucky and Sam and just not, stick with them. But I completely think that we will get more intimate moments with that character. We will understand his motivations, and if not, we will have at least a shared spotlight in one of the episodes, because we don't know who this guy is, at least on this universe yet.
Yeah.
Is he confirmed as Jonathan Walker, the character on the show, or did they give him a name?
They did. Yeah, they did. When they cast Wyatt Russell, they announced him as John Walker. Yeah, which, I mean, if you just brought up the thing about WandaVision, in WandaVision there was clearly a 3rd act structure. By the end of the 3rd episode, we were clearly done with the 1st act, and then by the end of the 6th, we were done with the 2nd, and so on and so on. We got to be done with the 1st act by the end of next week's episode.
True.
because it's only 6 this time. It's gonna be they're gonna handle it like as clearly as WandaVision in terms of the structure. We have to be done by next week. It's gotta be like that, you know. But yeah, this is a great way to kick off the next show. I think it does all the proper setup things right when it comes to a show like this. It gives us more insight into the characters, how the world sees them, and how they see the world, which is most important. We have our antagonist, an incredibly effective way of presenting our antagonist. And yeah, given what else we've seen in the trailers, I cannot wait for next week, man. How about you?
I'm really excited. I hope we get to see Zemo next week. I hope we get to see Agent 13. Much like you, I think it was a great, introduction to a show. The antagonist is great. I love how they're taking these secondary characters and turning into not secondary characters anymore. The story is about them. And they're making me love characters that I didn't have as much as an interest in the movies. I did like the characters overall. So yeah, man, I'm really excited about the rest of this season. I think it's going to be amazing, and I hope it holds up.
For sure. And before we started, you told me you had a theory about what could possibly happen. Let us know what it is. It was
about this bold urban commandos thing, which are the Buckies, that I was speaking about previous on the episode. So, these dudes, they used to work with the U.S. agent, with Jonathan Walker. Now, again, I don't know if this is something that's going to happen on the show, but because we don't know who they are yet, we just know about the Red Hand. One thing that happens in the comics is that Bucky stands for Bold Urban Commandos in the comics. So, 2 of these guys, they fight alongside U.S. agents, while Steve Rogers is still Captain America. So U.S. agent starts to talk about himself as Captain America and trying to stand up as, with the true principles of Captain America. But Captain America is somewhat against him. They end up fighting against Red Skull. Is a completely weird storyline, but it's good. But these guys, they work alongside the U.S. agent, and they are super enhanced. Their names are Jerome Johnson and Lamar Hoskins. They're the names of these guys, and they joined the government on the left and right wing. So it's they're a group of people that are super enhanced, which I think kind of dialogues with the person we've seen with that people with the masks and the red hand. So I think that might be something that they are introducing on this show, but I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more likely that they're working with Zemo, or like you said, they don't know if they're working with Zemo. But I also think that maybe, it's the U.S. government in movies. They always do something horrible. So they will, I think...
Art imitating life.
This U.S. agent is like, I don't know, a proper Captain America. They might be starting this threat with these guys, and he's going to be the one who's going to have to fake to stop them. Because also in the comics, there's a moment where the government deems the U.S. agent to not be Captain America because of his principles. So they fake his death and bring him back and then call him the U.S. agent. So I don't know if that's something that might come into play on this show.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if they do. Because the public has we gotta see. I think it's important that we see the public's reaction, because we don't see it in this episode. There's that final moment, and everyone there at least is like, "Yeah, Captain America," and they're taking pictures and whatnot. It's the press. They're gonna be happy because they have news to cover. But yeah, it's interesting. You brought it up, and it's something I hadn't thought about, but I think will be very important for us to see next episode how the public in general is reacting. And I don't mean just in America. I know it's Captain America, but the entire world will be reacting because he stood up for the entire world. But yeah, all right. Oh, something fell behind me. Don't worry. It was the Funko. Okay, but yeah, that's our first episode, our first coverage of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Thank you for joining me, my friend. We have one question today. Bucky or Falcon? Who do you pick? Who's your favorite?
I'm gonna go with Bucky.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Bucky too. I'm a Bucky guy. Especially give him his hair back, please. Just don't cut superhero's hair. Long hair is awesome. But yeah, all right, that's it for our show today. This is really fun. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope by next week we have more people watching the show and we get more questions and more interaction. But yeah, man, thank you so much for joining me today. And maybe next week we'll have another guest and just 3 people bouncing off ideas. And I hope you guys join us, whoever is watching this, whether it's live or after the fact, and you join us next week. So until then. All of João's links are in the description, and all of my links are in the description as well. So yeah, till then, watch Falcon and Winter Soldier. Love each other.